So the way that this works, Eddy, is like, this chair is so spooky.
And what this is a speed run timer, just in case we use audio.
Oh yeah, no, for the listeners at home.
Oh, do we want to go into character? Should we start?
I'm always
are we going? No. Okay, no. Let's start. No, you're right.
We're not starting. Okay, before we start the timer, though, we should give a brief rundown of why it's here.
You have to say, hello, Anidorks. That's what
hello, Anidorks.
That's how we start all our episodes.
It's famously how we start. I'm your oldest Anidork. Anyway, no, that's stealing from my brother, my Anidork, and me. But the point...
Pride, Prejudice, and Anidorks.
Crime Anidorks, Anidork junkies, sober Anidorks. I don't know. Anyway, point is...
In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Katherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddy.
And I'm Chris.
And we are... the Anidorks. These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
So we have a challenge set out for us today. This thematically aligns with what the book will be doing. In this portion of the book, there will be... Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a time-sensitive nature to this portion of the book, and we are trying a speedrun timer. And Eddy asked the question, how does a speedrun timer work? Well, we're working backwards from how much time we have to record this section, but we have an hour to record the 5 chapters. Oh my God. That sounds so crazy that it takes us an hour to talk about 5 chapters.
In a very sophisticated literary novel.
And yes, exactly.
Yes.
But so basically we get 12 minutes per chapter. And if we spend less on a chapter, we get some wiggle room. If we do a chapter in 6 minutes, then we have like more time to work with for other chapters. But if we spend like 30 minutes on one chapter, then this timer will automatically tell us how far behind we are with what they call a split time.
Okay, just for some additional context, before we got to this time-sensitive section of the book, we also have been talking about how we can accelerate our recording of
It's true.
Anidorks.
It's true.
In general, because we do have 54 main series books to get through, plus the Chronicles.
And we want to get through all of them.
Yes, and we are 2 years in right now, so...
yes, and
we might not survive the Anidorks books, the Animorphs books.
Right, like, doing some napkin math, it would be another 4 years if we somehow kept up this grueling, what feels to us to be a grueling pace. So we're experimenting with some new stuff. Come along for the journey.
We're trying out structure.
A concept that was new to some of us in this group.
Oh, man.
It was me. That sounds like it was a dig at somebody else, and I didn't mean to. I was talking about myself.
We all benefit from structure. It's 100% not something we excel at.
And I don't know where you'll be at. This is funny because we're in the middle of... The listener is in the middle of book 14, when they reach this point. We're going back.
Right. So they're like, what the hell happened that made them choose to start doing this now? And the answer is that we developed 7 hours of raw material for book 13.
Which was a strong book. And that
it was an amazing book. Look, but we can't... Not every book
like
can be an Andalite Chronicles, right? Exactly.
Andalite Chronicles can't be an Andalite Chronicles for us.
Right,
yes, and also, we listened back, like, how did we do that with book 13, even though we had started doing these summaries? And the answer was we went on a lot of tangents. We spent hours talking about the first 2 chapters of it. So, and we thought we were doing
Good
well.
first 2 chapters.
They were very good.
Anyway.
It's true.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm doing it right now. So
No, we are. So let's talk
if we should begin, so we're beginning with chapter 12. With chapter 12, we begin. The first chapter of any book, as we know, chapter 12.
When are you going to press play? Because you have to do
I'm gonna
you have to do an
start
AGDQ 3, 2, 1.
Okay, because shall I start with the reading of the summary?
and we are not
as
popcorning
reading
anymore
of
to save time, right? I think.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless
Okay.
we get cocky. If we want to popcorn and we're ahead, that's cool. That's called stunting.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go. Chapter 12. It's Saturday! The Animorphs have gathered at Cassie's barn to discuss how they're going to learn more about those very modest horse controllers that they saw pooping at Zone 91. Everyone agrees that they need to spy on the horses, and to do that, they should morph horses. But they have a problem. Only Cassie... fucking shit dick. Only Cassie currently has a horse morph, and the horse that Cassie morphs is the only one in her family's possession at the moment. The Animorphs worry that if they all morph the same horse, it'll draw suspicion onto them. Unfortunately, the Morph Depot, aka the Gardens, only has exotic horses, which would be out of place in the drylands. The gang decides that they'll need to obtain morphs at the horse racing track instead. Tobias asks why the Yeerks would possibly need to infest horses. Marco states the obvious. They have to be doing something with Zone 91. Cassie suggests that maybe the Air Force is building a weapon that even the Yeerks are afraid of, which Axe laughs off. Impossible, he says. Axe believes that if there is any kind of alien technology on Earth, the Yeerks would be able to detect it. None of the kids want Marco to be right about the Zone 91 conspiracy theories, but they agree they need to investigate further. Off to the racetracks. Okay. There's
These
some wild stuff in this chapter.
Are so good, and I just want a Cliff Notes copy of the book now that Eddy wrote. I think that would be really lit. Keep going, Miranda. Take it away.
No. So, first of all, the reason that the racetrack comes to mind is because Rachel tells us that her father took her to the racetrack as some sort of father-daughter bonding.
Dan. Sloppy move.
Have you seen his haircut? Like, I knew it. I knew it the moment he was introduced. Dan, is that his name?
His
Dan.
name is Dan.
It's Dan and Naomi.
I'm just like, we need more
What did
weird
Naomi
divorced
see in
dad
him?
content.
Yeah.
Like, we need more of this.
That's a book in itself.
Right?
Yeah.
The next Rachel book is just going on vacation with her dad.
Actually, do you know what? This might be foreshadowing our next Rachel book because Marco gets some plans. He starts planning this book. He gets some ideas.
He does.
So, I don't know. I think we might be seeing this horse track again. The only reason we are going to the horse track, am I right, and not the gardens, is because we go to the gardens later, right? Like, do you think they just didn't want to do it?
I mean,
It's a great interlude.
I would agree. I would agree
No,
that that's
actually-
probably important from a writing standpoint to not like go to the same place too much, but also it does make sense that they wouldn't just have normal ass horses at the gardens. Like, it's not too much of a stretch here.
But it doesn't make sense that if Cassie was in riding lessons, we couldn't just go to her old riding school and touch the horses. Like,
We don't know that Cassie was in riding lessons.
We do know that because of when she was walking around in her new outfit, she knew someone at school who did riding lessons with her as a kid.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they would just have to muck out the
this.
stables and they'd let them touch all the horses.
Exactly. Like, anyway, I have no problem with it, though. I think the idea of, like, racetracks seem like sad places, IRL. I can't imagine them being happy places. But as a kid who was in Guys and Dolls and with you, Miranda, and when I was in fourth grade.
I got the horse right here.
His name is Paul Revere.
Well, Chris, you're assuming that the horses aren't happy, which I don't get the impression that they're...
I'm assuming that they're singing in a Guys and Dolls manner.
That's okay.
That's true. And Rachel also says that she, her dad placed a bet for her. It was $2 on Chase Me Charlie.
Yeah.
Which is just a very Guys and Dolls name.
It is. Yeah. It is. But what were you going to say, Ed?
So I can't help but think about the fact that they have already done a scouting mission, but now they are getting more morphs to continue scouting, right? Like, that's what's happening here. Like, they just need to collect more information, right?
It is a lot of scouting in this book.
Yeah. And I'm
There's
not
a lot of
complaining.
scouting.
I'm just observing that that's what's happening.
It does remind me of like when you're running a D&D game and you really don't want your guys to get to the big bad before next week. Like you're like, I just need another week to work out some of the details and like just give me more time. And it's like, are you sure you don't want to go back to the tavern one more time? Like that's what this
There might be some cute girls there.
Like it's like it really is just like, oh yeah, why don't we do something over here that has nothing to do with my master plan and my great plot?
I also like that somehow, I think the horse track section that's coming up is excellent. It's very exciting. It's very funny. It's ridiculous. It also feels like when I finished the book, I didn't remember the horse track section at all.
Oh my God, I did.
You really did?
It was a weird...
I really did.
But it felt like a bubble episode. It felt
That's true.
It felt like a special weird episode. It's like, remember that one where the Rugrats went to the gambling place? Or
Oh, yeah. I will also say, like, they do drop kind of a cool thing here that is Axe saying the Yeerks would definitely be able to detect the type of technology that humans wouldn't have yet, like that if they have something alien, they
Zone
have
91, right?
Yeah.
Like if there's something at Zone 91, they should know, right?
Yeah.
Right, and like that's really interesting to me that Axe is like, oh yeah, they would have scanners that would be able to tell them that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, that's like kind of a big reveal.
Yeah.
It is a big reveal. It's like more resources than I thought they were using on Earth. Like if they have that kind of surveillance, it's surprising to me that they're struggling so much to have control. But at the same time, the wording was very exacting, which was like the sensors could pick up the metal alloys anywhere on the surface of the Earth, which covers their ass for book 4, which is when the dome ship was underwater at the bottom of the sea. And I just was like, oh, that's really good. Also, time matrix very likely buried somewhere.
True.
Which is why they haven't just found it.
Very good point. I also, with the surface of the Earth thing, that gave me the vibe that it actually might be ships in orbit that are scanning it, that it's not actually ground surveillance, that it's like some sort of like,
right? Yeah, that's what I was imagining too. Yeah. And I guess satellites aren't that, you're right. They're unmanned. They're not Yeerked. You don't need to
it might even,
Yeerk in your
satellite. We know that there are Yeerk ships in orbit. So like it might even just be from their ships.
That's true. That's true.
But Chris, you're bringing up the point that if they have this kind of technology, it seems a little funny that one of their highest ranking controllers is an assistant vice principal. That's what
right.
you're getting.
That's exactly. It's that same point that I keep bringing up. I'm like, why did we do the math teachers first? What were we thinking? Like,
it's a good question. We drop Marco messes with Axe a little bit and says that he can eat wood as long as he uses plenty of salt.
Didn't eating wood come up last book?
Did?
The Hork-Bajir eat wood.
They eat the bark.
They eat tree bark. That's
bark
true. That's true.
Good call.
Yeah.
So I feel like they would have had this conversation back then. I don't feel like he'd be asking now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I guess they were also just still thinking about eating wood. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more thing here. The Animorphs, are we to assume that Zone 91 is Area 51? Like
yes.
A 1-to-1.
Okay. It's an equivalent, for sure.
Yes,
I'm not sure that it's the literal same place, but it's like, yeah.
Yes. The Animorphs can't tell us where they live. And they are in close...
It could be Area 51.
But they are in close proximity to a major...
I always think this, though, because it's the EGS tower. It's like you just type that into Google Maps and you got their asses. You type in the gardens. True. You type in, like...
The gardens! This is what I was thinking about earlier today.
Works at the fucking gardens. Like, we can just link
My mom's the
ass.
head vet at a popular amusement park. Yeah,
Zoo
her name's on the website. Like,
But maybe they're normal gossiping it, and they're kind of taking the truth and putting it through. They're moving all the pieces around. And,
I kind of like that read on it, and I think that I don't
so it's
know
just a
how they
zoo.
get
It's
around.
not also an amusement park. Well, no, that would mess with this part.
Maybe it's actually two. Yeah, well, no, because they don't go to the zoo in this book. So maybe it is two locations that they're claiming are one location.
And one parent works at one and the other parent works at the other.
It does feel like with Area 51, like they are giving us Nevada desert or wherever it is. I think it's Nevada, and they're giving Nevada desert vibes for like the descriptions and what the topology is like around, or not topology, topography or whatever the.
You're good. I got you. I feel you.
I do wonder why zone 91 and not another number, like, because I know that the 1 makes it easier to hear, but I wonder if there's like a cuteness to why they picked 91 or something like that. Something to ask KA when she finally calls in on our KA Applegate line, which we have open at all times. KA call anytime.
It's the big red morphing phone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It's so hard to answer because it's a different shape every time you reach over to it.
Okay, we're at
chapter.
Are we ready?
Let's do it. Chapter 13.
We bought ourselves
I'll read this one. Everyone but Axe and Tobias morph into seagulls to fly to the racetrack. For some reason, Axe hasn't acquired a seagull morph, so he morphs a harrier. Half the chapter... This is true. The kids just give in to their hungry seagull brains and crave food they see in dumpsters. We've all been there. Upon arriving, they fly into a barn's empty horse stall to demorph. One little thing they forgot, Axe will stand out quite a bit once he's back in his Andalite form.
So the reason Axe doesn't have a seagull morph is because they acquired the seagull morphs on the mission to save Axe. He wasn't there.
I just think there has been some downtime where Axe could acquire a seagull morph.
Yeah, do these guys do no homework? Like, it's like Axe isn't working. Axe isn't at school. Like, there's very low X. And
but he has to be in his natural Andalite body to obtain the morph. So he can't just like wander out into a parking lot and touch a seagull, or he'd get seen. And they don't come to the woods where he lives.
Oh, but leave a little trail of trash, like you.
Tobias could be lookout for him.
That's true. Tobias could drag a seagull to him, still living.
Barely living within an inch of its life.
I was just thinking about the fact that Tobias has all this extra free time because he's no longer in school, and Axe is from a very advanced people. Axe should be tutoring Tobias in the woods.
Absolutely.
I think
we should be getting him up to speed.
He's like, I can't teach you human history, but I can teach you advanced mathematics. Like,
yeah. And he's his uncle, so it's
and now that he can, very true. And now that he can morph, he can even like get a notebook and like write things down. We could be like breaking the sound barrier. We already do that. I don't know what I was going for.
I think another thing, like this whole scene that's upcoming, like, I don't know if you guys know the song Stupid Horse by 100 Gex, but it's a story about betting what little money you have on a horse and then riding the horse out of the race that you just lost all your money at, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a touching narrative.
It's a little weird. You should hear it, the song. But my point is like, I just had this song playing in my head because this whole scene is so wacky and that song is so wacky. It's like, it's like a faux pop punk ska, like hyper pop song. It's so weird.
So, quick, just housekeeping note. They spell Papa John's wrong. Papa John's has only ever been P-A-P-A apostrophe, P-A-P-A John's. Yeah,
well,
Papa John's. And they spell it P-A-P-P-A John's, which is not in any world that I'm a part of an acceptable spelling of Papa. And I Googled it, and they've never been Papa John's with 2 P's. This was not like a weird 90 thing. Peppa John's, yes. Peppa Pig is going to open a new and ethically dodgy pizza joint.
Nope, it's all gonna be vegan. The pork is all vegan. Everything else is still meat.
How do you splash in muddy puddles?
The ham, the ham, the pork, that's all vegan.
But what if Papa John is kind of the Zone 91 to Zone 50 area 51.
It's like alternate reality Papa John's.
That's too bizarre, though, because if it's just one letter off, like, that's so weird. Like,
yeah, they should have gone with
that's
Papa
like
John's.
a Berenstain Bears situation. Like, that's troubling.
Ugh. So another thing that I thought was funny in this chapter, they have a conversation about, didn't we have this discussion before, they say, when talking about eating chicken as seagulls? I don't know if they did, but in the notes, I mentioned that they had a capital D dumpster. And I went back to book 4 when they morphed seagulls the first time. And in our notes, we are asking why there's a capital D dumpster. And so I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're making a joke about the fact that they're having the same conversation. And I'm asking the same fucking question.
It's life imitating art. That's amazing. It's art imitating life imitating something.
It was because it was the Dempster dumpster.
Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, it was trademarked for a while.
Oh,
Wow.
I thought you meant in the books they referenced the Dempster. I have to bring up, we end this scene entering a stall. It is not a bathroom stall, which is what I
That's
thought
right.
happened.
That's so interesting. That's so weird that were you confused about that at one point?
Yes, I thought well, I guess this is better to talk about in the next chapter, but I thought that they were a bunch of children and an Andalite in a bathroom stall, and as we will see in the coming description, 2 men were peeking over the stall, and I was like, why were they peeking over the stall to begin with? So
You mentioned this at one point in
That's
like
why I'm
very
bringing it
early
up.
on when we were recording, and I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? But I didn't want to like, I didn't want to like cut you down.
Well,
I was like,
I felt
maybe
more
don't
confident
remember.
because you both went ha 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 and nodded your head. So I was like, I guess that was what happened.
That's what my ditzy ass does at parties though. Like people say something and I'm confused and I just laugh and smile. And I'm sorry, Eddie, that's at least 30% of our relationship.
We're recording, so he's gonna look like an idiot. No. I must have just been speed reading the first time through. So
and that there's also like,
horse stalls are not for anybody who doesn't know, horse stalls
they're
are
not privacy stalls.
They're only really like chest height.
Right.
Like for a human.
Exactly.
Like horses can put their heads over the edge of a horse stall.
Yeah.
Like it's not a full wall with a small gap at the top. Which is all the more concerning to me that they land in this horse stall and don't see that there are people around.
yeah,
It's literally nuts to me that they did not think of this, and I feel like it just plays into the Looney Tune cartoonish spirit that is like going to be reified by the end of this book. It's going to be called out and made real. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it literally there will be literal Looney Tunes in this book.
that's true.
Yeah, that's actually true, and I wondered how they got the rights to that.
Yeah, I mean,
kept them.
We'll find out.
Does WB own Scholastic? I don't know.
Are you ready on that split, Miranda?
I'm ready on the split. Who's reading
right,
the next
you ready,
one?
Ed?
I'll
I think
do
it's
chapter
Eddie's
4.
turn.
You'll do it? All right. And split.
Chapter 14. The gang has demorphed in one of the horse stalls. 2 men peer over the door of the stall and ask what they're doing in there. Cleaning our horse, they say, referring to Axe. What kind of horse is blue? The men ask. They ask the kids to step outside the stall. Axe slices a chunk of 8x8 lumber from the railing over the heads of the men, and they collapse, groaning, when it falls on their head. The gang flees.
They die.
The men somehow seem to have remained conscious and pursue the kids, all within the barn still. Axe morphs into a human as he flees, I guess in the commotion. The commotion draws a crowd into the barn. The kids try to lose the men within the crowd, but Cassie doesn't manage to escape the barn with the others. A teenager grabs her foot, causing her to fall to the ground. He mistakes her for a boy, and this upsets her. Cassie kicks the teenager's hand away and manages to escape into a stall. Inside the stall, Cassie finds a horse and absorbs it. She hears the mob still searching for her and the others outside the stall, so she begins to morph into the horse that she just acquired. A lot happens here.
A lot happens. A lot
Including the
happens.
death
Get my
of 2
money.
men.
Yeah.
Well,
They
one of them
replaced
is
them very
confirmed.
quickly. They replaced them very quickly, but those first 2 men are definitely dead.
You think so? You think Cigar Man had like a ship of Theseus moment where they pulled the cigar out of the dead one's mouth and gave it to the second one, and that's why she mentioned it was falling apart from saliva?
Oh my god. All the cigar stuff was very gross. I tried not to read it too much.
Hey, sometimes a
because
cigar is just a cigar.
you're not fucking wrong, but like
Well,
this So much is ridiculous in this from like I imagine Cassie just like screaming fake laughing at certain moments of this because they're like, what do you feed that poor nag? And they're like just cans and cans of horse food and they're like, what? And Cassie's like, ha, that's ridiculous. Everybody knows that that's not what horses eat. They eat alfalfa and hay, which is what we feed our horse because that's what you feed horses.
Hey man, like, you know, it's our horse and we're taking it to the races. I'll feed it whatever I need to get the job done.
That's true.
Like,
also,
you know, I'm here to win.
This whole time, it should be noted, they are still demorphing and, like, are somewhat feathery.
Yeah.
Like, luckily these men only got here after they were mostly human.
They
but they're like, I've never seen any kids.
music video.
Yeah, they're like, I've never seen any kids who glued feathers on their faces. And it's like, I think it's all the rage.
It feels like, I imagine them as being slightly older too. So like maybe their eyesight isn't as good or
agreed.
something. Like,
oh yeah, they're probably drunk. Like, these are like old man stable hands at a racetrack in an undisclosed part of California. They're drunk. Like,
yeah. Well, wouldn't you be? I mean, that's why we got that job. Yeah. Like, I wanted to add one thing real quick, just like with Miranda's note about how Rachel and Marco were just so unhinged with suggesting the cans of horse food. Like, that has been them this book. It's almost like Rachel and Marco were like, we're going to do an intro to improv class. Like, we're going to go once a week. We're going to make some friends. It's going to be really fun. And now they're like, they have this basic concept of yes-anding, but not in a way that's realistic at all. Like, there's no realism to it. They're just suggesting off-the-wall shit. And it happened back when they were captured and Zone 91.
Dana Scully and Fox Mulder.
Yeah, and they were just egging each other on that whole time. And I kind of like them as a duo in that way.
Yeah, like a duo of chaos for sure. It's like your bard and your barbarian got together and and are just fucking shit up.
It is wacky, the tonal change between this book and the last. And I think we got a little bit of this with the book before or after book 12, the reaction with Rachel and her crocodile allergy.
Yeah,
which was an allergic reaction.
It's true.
Unbelievable. I can't handle that.
I just feel like it is like strikingly different than the book that came before, which felt so serious and so like had so much gravity. And I feel like they couldn't get away. There are books in this series where they couldn't get away with the things they get away with here. Like they wouldn't just dive into. They would have checked the barn to see if there was anyone in it. Like Tobias would have done that. They wouldn't be morphing all in the same stall. They wouldn't be making jokes about this to the men. Like, there are so many. Their identities are so in jeopardy as, like, their identities as Animorphs. Like, it feels like some of the things that happen throughout the rest of this book, even.
And Axe's answer to this was to try to kill people. Like, he didn't slash them directly, but he put their lives in real danger. Yeah. And a horse shouldn't be able to do that. And nobody ever asks the question, why did that beam suddenly fall? Like, literally nobody follows up on that.
Not only that, this man has seen an Andalite. He has looked directly at an Andalite. They were standing in front of him, but if that man... They got lucky that he wasn't already a controller because I guess he works at the racetrack. But if he were to get infested, he would have a memory of seeing this strange blue horse, right?
Who's gonna believe like some drunk teamster at a racetrack? You know, it's like I'm just.
But can they rely on that? Like,
you're really right because he witnessed people morphing back into humans while something else was morphing back into an Andalite. They'd be outed as humans. Like they wouldn't. It would be all over.
It's true.
Jesus Christ.
I really also enjoy, like, there's a moment where the Cigar Man is seeing, like, a blue horse and the children with feathers, and he's like, you know, I've never seen anything like this, and I've seen a lot of things, and I'm just like, I want to know everything about Cigar Man. I think Cigar Man and the Eileen the Minor Human and, like, all these NPCs are just so rich and full of
Captain
depth.
Torelli.
Yes!
They will all be on our next Survivor. game.
Yes. When we do another Survivor bracket,
Here's the most wild part is honestly that Jake continues the yes-anding trend. And so does Cassie. Cassie just gives up because she says, we like blue horses. And Jake's response is, someday all horses will be blue. Which is just the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Like, this book
It's like
is
how Fox
peak
News talks
fiction.
about...
Like,
2050 or something, yeah.
turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Yeah. Happy Pride, everybody. Hope your frogs are very gay. Oh, man.
Gayest frogs.
We're now saying Happy
Really
Pride, and
blue.
it is actually June right now. So
It is.
It's June when we're recording this. So
Yes,
yeah.
It's always pride in my heart.
yeah.
That's a great cop-out. I love that.
I will say, speaking of pride, I do think, so the girls in this series have serious identity issues. And we see a lot of Rachel not liking being held back by this image of being a girl and things like that, and feeling like her dad wanted a son and all those things. And then in this book, the thing that causes Cassie to finally snap is getting misgendered.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she's like, I am a girl, and you're gonna fucking respect it, or I'm gonna kick you in the face.
Yeah.
It is an interesting... Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No, it's
There was
just
a
like,
pause.
I don't know. People talk about like overanalyzing the gender stuff, especially in media that's intended for kids. But like these books, I don't know that you can overanalyze the gender stuff in these books because it is very much on the surface. It's not hiding. And even if it wasn't necessarily explicitly trans, because she is a cis girl who's just annoyed that like people aren't seeing her for who she is, like that's still very much a gender discussion. You know what I mean? Like not being perceived the way you want to be perceived, regardless of if your gender identity matches your sex, is like a huge thing. I don't know. It just, these books rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
It feels like they are especially, it's on their minds when it comes to how Rachel is conventionally feminine and how Cassie is not that. Like, it feels like the two of them are kind of these two poles in a way that I don't think happens really with Jake, Marco, Tobias, or Axe, I guess,
There
too.
Axe
is very pretty in his human morph.
Yeah.
Cassie calls him handsome, though. It's interesting.
true.
Marco, I think, said that. Was it Marco or Jake said, or maybe it was Tobias?
But there's also, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there's a moment where she sees herself in his handsomeness, though.
Yeah, she says
that,
it's weird
like,
to see your own features looking back at you, but as a boy.
Yeah.
Which I had forgotten about, considering this misgendering that we just waltzed right through.
We should have hit that harder.
No, well, I mean, we are now.
Like
you
two
know?
men with an 8x8, if you know what I'm saying. But
Miranda, I don't watch pornography. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know they have those goose eggs on like at the top of their heads after it happens. Like in this book.
oh yeah,
that
they
doesn't
see
go-
little birds.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Oh my God.
But you're right that like I would say Tobias pre-birdification.
Yeah.
The way they described him a little bit to me, I mean, they described him as like kind of small, kind of shrimpy. I feel like they went just up to saying effeminate. You know what I mean? They didn't want to say effeminate, but they were kind of like, Tobias has kind of an effeminate vibe. So we do have one boy character who is not necessarily filling the stereotypical human boy role, but he was pretty quickly turned into
Not
a
to mention-
bird. So
And,
And Marco is
like,
pointedly cute. He's always cute.
Right, Marco's
That's
pointedly
true.
cute, but then also with like the canonification of his bi-ness, like it's him probably just like playing up, like
What do you mean?
masking or passing. I think that he cares so much about the gender roles because he's probably like in dialogue with how queer he will be someday, and
I know what you
probably
mean.
anxious about that and wants to be well liked. Like he seems to thrive off being well liked. He's like
he's like
he's, like,
performing
closeted
this
right now.
sleazy frat boy role.
Almost like so to a T that it's like okay, you're like compensating for something.
Right. It's like,
going
even
out of
though
your
we
way-
repeatedly see that that's not what he's actually like we are repeatedly shown that this is a front that he's putting on.
Yeah.
So like, why is he choosing to have it be such a
Right.
womanizing front?
Yeah.
You know?
Like John Travolta's character in Grease. Or maybe that's just my fanfic I wrote.
Yeah, maybe that was just from my Danny and Kaneki fanfic.
Please
I don't know.
like me.
That wasn't.
Who's
Well
that?
done. I couldn't get the names. And I was trying to make that joke, and I could not get there.
Is that his
So-
character
so-
in Greece?
So Danny is John Travolta's character. Kaneki is the character that's dating Rizzo, and Grease Lightning is traditionally his song, but John Travolta would not accept the role of Danny in the movie unless he got to sing Grease Lightning. So it became Danny's song suddenly.
I think the one thing I did want to hit in this chapter is if we are cutting through 8x8 beams of wood, that's more damage than I understood an Andalite tail to be able to do. And like, that is like...
I mean,
like,
I don't want to
you
give
take
any
a sharp-
spoilers, but like
No.
we've seen some decapitations.
Decapitations are one thing. I don't want to get into the details of that because it'll depress me, but I just think like a big thick beam of wood, like in video games when you hit a tree with a car, you plow through the tree. In real life, tree feels nothing. Your car
That's
goes
true.
up the tree. Like an 8x8 beam is just not something like you take a big ass saw.
That-ish thick, a little thicker than that on the angle. For
I would
my
be-
hand
what I'm
specifically.
saying-
For
what
my
I'm
hand
saying is-
specifically.
What I am saying is that I would be impressed if Axe could casually slice through a 2x4. I'm just saying, like, it's like not. It's like a 2x4 would seem impressive to me because you have
we're
to
gonna-
take a
we're gonna
saw and go
flag
back
this.
and forth a bunch.
And we're
Yeah.
gonna
We'll
keep
table
an
this
eye on
discussion.
how powerful
we know-
the tail is.
We're gonna
Yeah.
write into Adam Savage and we're gonna ask
Is this
how
possible?
much it would take to break an 8x8.
And then we're gonna have the slow-mo guys film that test. Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
Chris, I
that's
do
all
wanna-
I wanted to hit
and this
there.
is how I'm gonna meet Gavin Free.
I
Yes!
do want to ask:
Free.
Have you noticed that wicked tail? Because
Happy Pride, everybody. But the
All right, are
All
we
right.
ready?
yes,
chapter 15, I think it's back to Miranda.
Okay, let me burp. Excuse me.
Leave that in chapter 14.
Fuck off. Chapter 15, Split. Cassie morphs into the horse she's just acquired. We get a lengthy morph description involving fingers melting together, Cassie seeing her own fleshless bones, and our first all-fours moment in a few books. The other horse, the one that Cassie just made a copy of, starts to freak out by the morph process, but that quickly passes once the horse realizes that Cassie is an identical copy of itself. Cassie exits the stall, hoping to find the others, but one of the humans in the barn quickly intervenes. Turns out that Cassie has morphed into the next horse due to race in the Derby. More, she's morphed into the horse that's predicted to win the Derby. Cassie is led to the track. She's unfazed, she says. She is ready to run.
this is so zany.
Yeah. It is so zany.
yeah.
Especially we're coming out of a chase scene from those two poor dead old men. And the whole thing is just catching the energy and funneling it into a chase and now literally into a race. Like, it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cassie's game. She's game to do
She
this
is.
race.
She knows that she's a good horse.
She is a good
knows that
horse.
She's
She also
a-
now
It's
has
just my...
2 horses in her
That's
morphing
true. She can morph
vocabulary.
any of 2 horses.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's the first time that we've seen, like, that happen. Somebody
Yeah.
have, like, breeds of a
To be
thing
able to
rather
have,
than a whole
they're in a
different
position to make a
species.
choice about which one they would.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's pretty cool.
She actually, looking back, did not need to acquire a horse more.
Not at all. Not at all.
And she only
no.
ends up acquiring this one because she realizes the horse is going to freak out if, like,
She doesn't put it into a...
she doesn't put it into a trance.
An acquisition trance, yeah.
I do love the horse, once it realizes they smell identical, just being like, my brain doesn't have... like, I don't have anything filed in my brain as, like, an instinctive reaction to that, so I guess it doesn't exist. Can't
I
happen.
didn't like that whole... I didn't like that whole
But
thing,
it comes
personally.
into conflict with Rachel and the Hork-Bajir from last book doing the like little dominance ritual, because all it tells us is that the Hork-Bajir, I guess, is more self-aware than the horse, or that they're not a very scent-based culture.
I didn't think it made sense. I just didn't think it made the most sense. Like, I think it's, if you're gonna have it in one place and not the other, like, I think the fact that we're explaining it is acknowledging that we had to deal with it in the past book and they felt some sort of guilt to the reader to have some kind of consistency. But like, I didn't really buy the description too much. I think like, yeah. Also the idea that like they would not notice the whole ass other horse that's still in the stable.
Well, he does, but he doesn't want to fight it because, the idea that the people wouldn't notice that the horse was
Cassie
still there.
Gets mistaken. Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, I'll take this horse. Horse over there.
She like leaves the stall, right? She like pushes it open. She like noses open the gate and leaves, and so they
What's
assume
Minneapolis Max doing out of his stall?
Exactly. They assume that it's the right horse. I'm picturing a spirit stallion of the Cimarron. I don't know what you guys were picturing for this horse, but that's what he looks like to me.
I'm picturing an Andalite.
Did they tell us what kind of horse it is? I don't think they did. A big golden stallion. Yeah, so that's why he was golden.
I have a question about all of this. They call this a Kentucky Derby. Is every horse race a Kentucky Derby? I don't actually know.
No, they
clarify,
say, no, they don't call it a Kentucky Derby.
Are you sure?
And they say, yes, I'm almost positive because they say specifically, what I remember them saying is that this horse is on track to win the Kentucky Derby.
Yes.
But that this itself is not the Kentucky Derby.
They say Kentucky 3 times. Maybe they think they can win the Kentucky Derby, Rachel says at one point. I had just morphed the horse who was expected to go on to win the Kentucky Derby. I thought that was the race that was about to happen.
No.
You thought that the horse had just been in a bathroom stall and was coming out from the urinal to race
and they're in Kentucky, which was confusing because we're not supposed to know where they live.
Which is right next to Zone 91. Right?
Yes.
Everybody's got mint juleps and megabutt. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that is true. Yeah, the megabutt thing. Oh my god, when she's morphing and she's like, I have megabutt. Like I was like, Kay, what are you doing right now?
Things people have said.
Is that a thing unto itself, or is that like
I've never heard it?
I've never heard it. I'm gonna start saying it.
Can we annotate a megabutt?
Does it ever come back?
Technically can.
My butt grew huge. I had megabutt.
And just, for one more time, for good measure, she says that her knees reverse, and that's not how that works. It's that the foot is extremely elongated, the knee's actually higher up in the butt. It's fine. I don't have to go on about it. But,
yeah, it's just
understand how legs work.
I would say
usage.
Cassie
legs,
pushing the stall door open and just planning to walk out when she knows there are people outside. I think it's a continuation of the risky behavior.
Yeah, it doesn't make a damn lick of sense.
And she's our sensible child.
I think there's something very beautifully progressive about this, though. Like, a racetrack should have humans and horses racing each other. And horses should be allowed to bet on the races as well. I don't know.
Chris, anything you want to say about Cigar Man? Because I know how much you adore this character.
Oh, I just, he's already back. So, what happens...
Does the Cigar Man think that a cigar is sometimes just a cigar? Or is he convinced...
dude, he's seen a lot of shit. So I think that he's kind of freaky. I think he's probably on Field App. I think he's, making the rounds at the parties, the kink parties and whatever. And we support that here. Happy Pride, everybody. But the point is... he's already back because after she morphs, she gets whisked away. Is that the next chapter? That's the next chapter.
Can you point to what in the text led to this interpretation of
What are you
Cigar
trying to get out of me? I think
I just want to see the line.
It's literally... It's just the line is that he said, I've seen a lot of things in my life.
You're right. No, you're right. No, I see it now. What else are you left to imagine?
I just think we have to tell our own stories. It's like Jesus when he said, oh my God, I'm so horny for the cross. And then they put him up on a cross. You have to fill in the gaps, Ed.
Cross horny.
Oh my God.
Cross horny. Yeah, exactly. And he was like, I wanted to be nailed, but not in that way. We're cutting that joke. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Nail me to your tree.
Wait, is Cigar Man Mr.
Brad,
Hinckley?
everybody.
We do get a name.
No, I don't think Cigar Man's even here. That's why we were so confused why you were bringing him up.
Cigar Man's in the next
Is he really? No,
He's
one
not
of the
in
men who
chapter
peeked
15.
over the door was Cigar Man, right?
Right. And then this
But
time,
he's coming back when we're in the race. We're not
this
there
time
yet.
she says one of the teenagers she'd been running away from.
Okay. Oh, I have one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted because I have the book up in
so
front of me, which
are.
is against the rules.
It is
have
against the rules.
Where is this person, the kind of person who says this, from? Hey, it's Minneapolis Max. He's out of his stall. Someone is going to catch some grief behind this. Joe, grab his bridle, for crying out loud, quick before Max here starts raising Cain. Raising Cain.
That's a saying.
Yeah, pretty biblical.
Yes.
Pretty biblical.
Yeah, but is it a regional saying of any kind? Like, do you hear
No,
people
I think
saying
it's
that?
just a way to avoid saying hell.
Okay.
Although it is kind of funny because Adam and Eve raised Cain. You know? Like,
Is that true?
yeah, he's Adam and Eve's son.
Oh.
Well, there's also a movie called Raising Cain.
I found that out
apparently.
too. Okay.
John Lithgow's in it.
We are we are timing ourselves, so
We got
Hey,
7
Ed,
minutes.
I'm not the one. I'm not. The
I'm
one who-
sorry, Chris. Whoa. I just made the lights come
right.
on.
You clapped on with your rage. But yeah, Minneapolis Max is a great name. The other thing I wanted to say is apparently there is good records of horse racing as far back as ancient Greece. And I just think this is really funny.
That's why you had
people
Greek
gave-
courses open.
That is why I had Greek courses up. Thank you for remembering. I had forgotten that. But apparently there were like horse names in Greece that translated to things like chattering teeth and stuff like that, which is funny because we understand that to be like a joke name now. And so like there's this like through line of what people thought was humorous at the time. And like it's just an interesting
There's,
thing humans have done.
I don't think it's like confirmed or anything, but there is like a disputed etymology of the name Cerberus that says that it might be related to the word for spot or spotted.
Huh.
And so Hades might have named his dog Spot.
Wow.
That, you know what,
But-
that's a little too good to be true.
Yeah,
Let's hold out
it's a
hope
little
on that
too
one.
good to be true. It's like a bit of a leap. The words are not super similar,
No.
but like
I am going to repeat that as fact. I'm sorry, I am.
I saw it on a Tumblr post many
It's out of your
years
hands,
ago.
Chris. It's out of your hands.
When we're on a blood versus water season, Miranda, on Survivor, that'll be
Oh,
the
God.
fact that we tell around the campfire.
No, I'll
very
also
funny
be on
fact.
this season on the other tribe, and everyone will say, Eddie already told us that. Like, I'll get there ahead of you, and
And I'll be
steal
like,
your fact.
we need to vote out Eddie because Eddie told my anecdote that I
And
stole
they'll say,
from
Chris,
Miranda.
Eddie's on the other tribe. We can't do that yet.
I'll say like, I don't care. Oh, let's throw this next
What would
challenge.
Jeff do? What would Jeff do if we all wrote Eddie? Like,
Yeah. What would he do? He'd have to change the rules.
They wake me up and bring me to tribal. They voted you out.
Okay, now that one was my fault.
we have a couple minutes, so I was just gonna throw in a quick here. For some reason, when she said megabutt, it all clicked for me. The shy pooping horses and megabutt finally clicked
my
together for
God.
me. The scary movie alien evidence footage where they were walking past farm animals that were all just shitting the entire time. So it's like nobody wanted to watch the footage. They're like, you see the alien right here. And they're like, there's just a cow on screen just shitting. I think one of them might have been a horse. And so I'm like, proof of aliens
Wow.
plus pooping horses equals
Wow, and this,
whichever scary movie did the Signs parody.
this is
That was
this
Scary
has,
Movie
like
3.
8 years on that.
I remember. Because
That
that's
was a
when Chris
particularly good Scary
burst out
movie.
laughing
It was
about
good. It was
Yahtzee!
Yahtzee, yeah.
was a
Yeah,
good
that
scary
one,
movie.
The
And the
weirdest
hat
thing
that
about
keeps
that scary
growing.
movie is, didn't it have an 8 Mile parody in it?
It might have.
Yes, it did.
I think it might have had an 8 Mile parody.
Is it the one that had the Ring parody as well?
Yes.
Yep, yeah. But for some reason, I think there was an 8 Mile.
There was. Absolutely
anyway,
there was. Yeah.
That also, there's a
which is
continuing
not a horror
argument.
movie.
No.
There's a continuing argument about whether or not you can wake up dead, which is one of my favorite.
Yo,
It's like
I
every
just
time
watched those clips on YouTube
every time
because
the
of your
two
note.
characters enter.
It's so good.
Wait, what
It's
is this?
so good. We'll send you. We'll send
don't
you.
have time.
It's like it's.
We'll
so
talk
good.
about
we'll
it
send
after.
You a clip.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's so good.
Chapter 16, Chris, I believe it's your
Apparently,
turn.
the writer of those bits went on to write for Chernobyl, the series.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's so funny. It's like when I found out about the Foley artist on this John Carpenter horror movie and was like, she did like Rugrats in Paris and
What?
and Team America World Police, and it was like the same year. Or no, it was the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and Team America World Police in the same year.
Are you ready on my split?
Ready on your split.
All right.
Boom.
Chapter 16. Cassie is being led to the starting gate as the horse, Minneapolis Max. She has a jockey on her back. That's curtain to the point. Tobias contacts her in thought speech, saying that she is the only member of the gang he hasn't found yet. If she can hear him, he says, give him a sign. Cassie replies in thought speech that she is on the track. Tobias quickly catches up with Cassie. Catches up that Cassie is about to race in the Derby.
Catches on,
The
maybe.
Derby. The jockey on Cassie yanks her bridle, digs his toes into her side. Cassie doesn't know what this means. She tells us that she has the instinct of a horse, of the horse, but not the years of experience that the real Minneapolis Max has. Cassie guesses that the jockey wants her to approach the starting gate, and does so. Once inside the starting pen, though, Cassie's horse brain panics at the confined space. The jockey tells her to calm down, and she thought speaks back to him. You calm down. I'm the one trapped in a tiny box here. The jockey is confused, not understanding where the voice came from. He doesn't have time to process. The bell rings, the gate opens, the race is started, and Cassie begins to run. A dark brown stallion gives her a run for her money, pun not necessary, and yet totally intended. But Cassie pushes through in the last stretch, winning the race. Cassie jokes that it's the first athletic competition she's ever won in her life. That's life for those listening at home.
This chapter.
So this is where
Cigar Man comes back.
He's hanging out at the gate and instructing the jockey about how skittish Minneapolis Max is. He's like, don't worry. Like, this horse is always like this. Don't worry about it. And he's already back in action. Like, yes, he's died and been replaced, but the same cigar is there.
Same cigar.
Same cigar. And
How do you know?
even
Does it say it's the same
soaked
cigar?
with saliva.
The
It's
implication.
even more soaked
and
with
blood.
saliva.
Blood. Maybe
It's
some brain
also-
matter.
Yeah, it's also poking out the side of his mouth, like it's through his cheek.
No, it's back to Pan's Labyrinth imagery.
But yeah,
That was you, Miranda. I'm referencing something I just heard you talk about in book 13.
I
I'm
remember
realizing
that.
not the last time we recorded.
I think about that scene a lot. Every day, honestly. But
he's back. He's back at the gate here, being
Guess
like
who's
a
back?
big man doing
back
like lots
again.
of.
Cigar Man's back.
Great job, dude. Great. He's back though, and he's being a man's man, telling this jockey who's about to go race this horse thing. Like in this book, in particular, with between Captain Torelli and Cigar Man, masculinity is on a comical display. Like,
That is true.
It is hype.
So
How
I think
silly the men are.
I feel like I agree. I feel like it's more that this book is poking fun at figures of authority more than because I feel like
And the
Captain Torelli-
patriarchy dictate.
And all
Yes.
the ones we see are men, except for the woman who drops her yogurt. Rip. But
If this book had come out in 20 now, if it had come out now, somehow Marco's mom would come back and be a second wave feminist boss, like the Devil Wears Prada style. Like it would have been like
I'm
it would
thinking
have
more
yeah.
Tommy or not Tommy Pickles. Helga. What's her name? Angelica.
Helga Pataki?
Angelica's
Angelica.
mom.
Oh, Angelica, Charlotte.
Dude.
Okay, I'm like, Helga Pataki's mom was an
You
alcoholic.
have those names stored.
Yeah, dude, all you have to do is actually love the shows in your heart and the names come right back. But if
Yeah.
you're going to pose like this, Eddie, like,
God.
I'm just...
I'm sorry, I won't reference Nickelodeon cartoons anymore.
No, you have to. You literally have to. It's all our audience wants us to do.
So, first of all, there's a line in here that is just good, too good not to point out, and that's "Don't fade on me now, talking horse."
Yes.
Oh, I love that line. Oh, I love that he accepts it. He's like, "We're in this together, talking horse. We need each other. Let's
Because
do
one
it."
of the things that she says to him is, "Forget winning. The point is not to win. The point is to run."
She gave that jockey a lesson.
Yes, we're gonna win this
Hang on,
race.
Mr. Jockey, we're going to win this race. I'm just saying, at the same time, if this jockey is infested, this jockey's had a conversation with a horse that spoke to him in his mind.
I don't know,
true.
man. The thing about being a jockey, though, is you want to cut your weight as much as possible. And, like, even the,
Yeerk's
like,
just gonna
couple
weigh
of
too
ounces,
much.
a Yeerk is just gonna, his neck's weak. It's gonna limp to the side. It's gonna pull the horse towards the wall.
Why am I so endeared by this idea of the Yeerk that he infests a jockey? He's like, man, I don't want to infest a jockey. I want like a real person. And then he comes to love horse racing, and he's riding the human riding the horse.
Why
Like,
do we always have this? This always happens. We find some thing in every book where we're like, I want to see the Yeerk that infests the man that does this.
You know
like,
what it is?
And he
You know
comes
what it
to
is, though?
love his
Yes.
work. Like,
You know what it is, though? We all hope to someday love our work. I
That's-
think we just really, really hope that will
Yeah.
happen for us someday.
yeah, maybe you're right.
And also, there's just imagining what is the image you always see in cartoons of like the person revealed to be like a mouse running in like a wheel, powering
yeah,
his
yeah.
robot, and like the Yeerk is kind of just that. Maybe not as cute, but it's a living blanket.
Actually, I'm not a man. I'm a woman. Actually, I'm not a woman.
I'm not a woman.
I'm a horse. And actually, I'm not a horse.
Not a horse.
I'm a broom.
I'm a broom.
Is that Family Guy?
Perfect
Yes.
quote. Perfect quote.
Yes, that's Family Guy.
The one that I just showed Santiago the clip the other day. I don't know if either of you watched BoJack, but Vincent Adult Man.
Love Vincent Adult Man.
I love Vincent
I
Adult
love
Man. It makes
Vincent
me laugh.
Adult Man. The
It's
fact that he
three
treats her
toddlers.
better than any adult man she's ever
Yes.
dated. Like,
It's only BoJack can tell
toddlers.
that
They're like
children,
Yeah, young children. Voices haven't changed yet. Like,
Yeah.
it's-
3 10-year-olds stacked on top of each other in a trench coat, and only
That's
BoJack
awesome.
he can see right through this. But then also he starts and he's like, "Why does no one see that? That's just 3 children stacked on top of." But then he comes to really respect Vincent Adult Man.
Well, yeah, and one of the female characters goes on to have like a pretty serious long-term relationship with him.
That's complicated. That's complicated.
yeah.
Oh man, but I think this might be the most reckless use of thought speech we've seen since the Elephant Police.
Yes. Although
These people are gonna have a
yeah.
support group.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Have you been hearing voices? No, like weird voices. Not the normal voices that tell you to steal the gloves on the impulse buy shelf and then call them
Animals
your
that
thieving
sound
gloves.
like 12-year-olds.
Yeah, more specifically, animals that keep talking about math homework and how they need to get home to do it.
Or like
We're saying Mister a lot. They use
Yes, they
Mister
say
a lot.
They say
Mister.
Mr. a lot. Yeah.
hey, Mr. Yeerks,
Regardless of
it's
gender,
cold
it's
out
powerful.
here.
Hey, Mr. 3.
Mr. 3. Well, guys, we
3.
did it with 6
Yeah.
minutes to spare.
Yeah. I'm pretty
Imagine
blown
if we
away.
had done this for 2.5
Mandalay
hours. instead.
Chronicles.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
think
also
we
that,
would.
yeah.
I think we would be running out of steam if we. But yeah, it was.
There's going to
it
be,
was good.
this comes up to a big pivot here. So this is a good.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
like what happens immediately after this, just before we go off this episode, is like with no easing, we go straight into the dry lands and invading zone.
Yeah, just to give
91's horses.
you a brief preview, I'll read you the first sentence of chapter 17. Fortunately, in between running from stable hands and trying to find me, everyone in the group had managed to acquire a horse morph. That's it.
Yep. It's
And
like, okay, mission achieved.
I think we just need to remind the circumstances that we're ending tonight. Cassie has just won a horse race
That's
as
true.
Minneapolis Max. She has a jockey on her back. She's in morph. There are lots of eyes on her. She's a copy of another horse that's back in the stall.
Back in the stall.
It's feasible to think that someone could have already discovered the real Minneapolis Max and be wondering where she is. She's separated from her friends, who it seems likely that they're probably in their own situations themselves, right? Like you would guess.
They're in the stands, they seem to say. It's like she sees
Marco
I think she
is,
sees
right?
Marco in the stands as a human at one point.
You know that
Yeah.
Marco's just like begging people to place bets for him.
Oh yeah.
Like he's like, "Oh, come on, my friend's in this race. You have to let me bet."
The odds on Minneapolis Max were not too good, though. I mean, like, they were not good for betting on, you know what I mean?
Exactly,
He was the
yeah, it
favorite
was
to win
like,
the
yeah.
race anyway, so... Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon!